Right now, we are officially recording. Welcome, everybody, to Go to Training today. I'm very pleased to be your IT person for the session. I'm going to give you a very quick orientation. All of you come in through the default, which is the web version of Go to Training. The first thing you need to know is if you want to use your camera where this little red circle is, you can click that, left click it, that'll give you your camera controls. Or it'll also allow you to switch to the web version. The desktop version. If you click change to desktop and then do go to opener, you'll go in the desktop version and the camera's a bit easier to use. If you're trying to use your camera up here where the other red circle is, you might see a little red flashing icon, and you may have to give your device permission or the browser permission to use the camera. Very, very important. On your controls on the web version, this little mic is your mute and unmute button. This is your raising your hand button. This allows you to see the people in the group, who the list of the names. The little chat bubble here allows you to chat to send in a written question, which then I can answer for you or read out to Ken while he's teaching. And then the little gear shift is the same as what's above here. And that gives you those controls to either open up your camera or change to the desktop version. Speaking of the desktop version, if you choose to do so, it's easier to change to. This is our desktop version. You've got your webcam and audio controls right here. This little red arrow will shrink it. Right above it, if you grab this and hold it, you can move your box around the page. This is your microphone, your camera button. Down here, number 4 is where you raise your hand, should you wish to raise your hand. The chat box here is showing if you click the little plus and turn it into a minus, this will open up. Type your question here or your information, hit send, it shows up here and it'll be responded to. And you are able to chat to Ken and I. So that is your desktop version. Are there any questions thus far? Are there any questions thus far?
No.
Going once, going twice. Sold to the old man with the gray hair who's going to have control again. So
Wait a minute, I resemble that.
I'm throwing this back to Ken. This session is being recorded. I'm going to get them all up on YouTube, and all the documents for today's session are in the materials box. You will see on your computer. There's a materials box. You can download. Also, you can get to them on the website, so you'll have access to the materials even after this is done. Also, in your link that you get in the mail, both your join email and your thank you email, there'll be a link that says go to materials, and you can get them that way also. So the materials are fully accessible. And with that, I'm going to give this right back to Ken.
Okay, I noticed that Kathy is trying to get in via the non-web version. Guy, have you been able to figure out how to turn on your camera?
Yes, I let me do this. Okay.
There you go. Now I see you. Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome aboard here. Kathy, how are you doing? I haven't heard your voice yet, so you're still self-muted, but I know that you've been trying to get in. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started here because we've got a lot of things to cover. I'm going to presume that both of you are planning on being treasurers next year. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and so you're already a CPA, right, Guy?
No, I'm not a CPA. I'm in accounting. I've been in accounting for 25 years. Currently I'm a controller for the company I'm working with, and
Very good.
yeah,
Very
I've
good.
been the treasurer last year for my club. So
Excellent. Excellent. And Kathy, I still haven't been able to get you to speak up. So why don't you tell us where you're from and what's your role for next year? She's having difficulty getting through to us, so we'll have to just keep going. Hopefully, she's been coming on and off individually. So, uh, this is your guy. You can see the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is your global action team. My name is Ken Leah, and I'm a past district governor. Um, I've been a club treasurer as well, and so part of what we're going to be trying to do is give you a lot more of the details so that you can be a very successful treasurer. If you've done it already for a year and the club hasn't folded because of finances, then you're obviously successful. So congratulations. That was a little bit of a joke. I know, a very little joke, but that's hey, it's Saturday morning, and I'm
Yeah.
still working on my first cup of coffee. So you know, we'll take it from there. Um, there's a number of different handouts that you have that are you can download them. There's that materials box that you have that you can be downloading these helpful hints. The most important one is the GLT Treasurer ebook, because we're going to be utilizing that a great deal as a reference tool. They're also available on the website, and I'm going to throw up onto the screen. This is the actual website, and you can even see what the URL is right here, lionsarizona.org, officer-resources-e-books. And right down here, there's your treasurers, all the same things that we have as downloadable directly from this go-to training. So you can get it all right here. A
Okay.
lot of these are very helpful guidelines for you to read, but we're going to be trying to cover as much of it as we possibly can so that you'll have it up here as opposed to digitally over there. So
Okay.
let's kind of get you into here. We've already talked for a second in terms of what I was going to ask you, kind of doing a gosh, who are you? Where are you from? You're obviously with the Tucson Breakfast Club, I understand. So
Yes.
I'm in Prescott right now, and so that means that you're down in Tucson. So
Yes. Yeah.
when does your club meet? Does it meet on Saturday mornings?
No, we meet every Wednesday morning at
Uh,
7 a.m.
7 a.m. Oh, I'm in the office by then. Okay, so that early riser. I like it.
Yes.
Uh, then just to kind of get acquainted, and so we get a little bit more about who you are. What's your favorite movie?
That's it. Good. I don't have a favorite movie. I maybe Avatar.
Okay, that is a very good movie. I enjoyed that. Uh, it brought a lot of science fiction, and who knows, sort of like Star Wars and Star Trek, they all came to that, and
Yeah.
we're getting that way. And so who knows? Maybe you and I are just avatars from a different species. Who knows? Hey, whatever. Okay, there's a couple of other things. Let me ask you another question. Uh, this one here is going to be a little bit easy for you. If you've been a club treasurer, what do you want to learn today to help you do it better this next year?
Well, I want to know what I am supposed to do because my club is with people who, how do I put it? They have been doing things a certain way, and my goal is to do things the right way. So that's what I'm looking for. How do I get the club to do the things that we are supposed to do the right way? And because I am in accounting and finance, I don't want to do things just because I am in accounting and finance. I want to be able to know exactly what Lions Club International wants treasurers to do. So I'll be able to balance both sides of the history of the club, like we've been doing things this way and it's been working, and my background. So I want to be able to get away from those two sides and do what LCI wants treasurers to do.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think that we're going to be able to help you with that, because
All right.
what I'm going to be giving you is a fire hose worth of water to drink, dealing with how, how to be a good treasurer. I was a treasurer for 3 years. I've been around Lions now for, gosh, I think 15 years. I've been a president, I've been a treasurer, I've been a secretary, I've been on the board, I've been a committee chair, and somewhere along the line, I decided to go and become a district governor at one point in time. And then they said, "Gosh, you've done all of these things. Why don't you become a trainer of people so that they know how to do things the LCI way?" And I'm going, I don't like the way LCI does some things. Yeah, but then again, hey, we're supposed to follow something as a standard, so that's what we're going to do. So let me. The question I was going to ask, if you hadn't been a secretary, or excuse me, a treasurer previously, was, if you've never been a treasurer, what were you thinking? Why would you want to do that? So what's the burning question that you want to know to be a successful treasurer? So that was just trying to get some levity and try and get things started. So here's what we're going to try and be doing today during this club treasurer workshop. So what are we going to be exploring? First and foremost is, let me get this off the screen so that you can see it better. There we go. The role of the club treasurer.
Okay.
What are you supposed to be doing? Member dues, club budgets. How do you make the payments? What kind of financial records do you need to keep? What are the financial policies of Lions Clubs International, and what should be part of your responsibility as a club officer? You are part of the primary team, president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. That's the quad, the quartet of leadership in the club. You're still working with the board of directors of the club, and so you have this responsibility to take on the financial side of it. In the corporate world, which you obviously are familiar with, you are the CFO. The president's the CEO, the secretary's the CAO, chief administrative officer, and you're the chief financial officer of the club, which means you got to make sure all of these things get happening. So let's take care of what are your primary responsibilities. Let's identify them. There's only 6. It's a real easy job. And if you believe that, I've got this swampland in Arizona. I'll be happy to sell you.
Okay.
But there's basically the 6 primary responsibilities. First is to obviously attend the club meetings. That makes sense. If you can't collect money and you can't pay bills and things like that, because you don't know what's going to be happening, you got to attend club meetings and board meetings. Occasionally, there's some other meetings that you may want to attend, but we'll be getting into more detail in it.
Okay.
A primary responsibility that you have is prepare the club budget. Now, you don't do it alone. You work with other members in the club, but to start off, you're going to be the one that everybody's going to look to put that together. Why? Because you know what you've paid in the past. You know what kind of bills have come through in the past. So putting together that budget, then you take it to the board, and then they're going to go to all of the committee chairs and say, well, we need to have X amount of dollars to do this, and we need to raise Y amount of dollars to do that. We need to change the budget. So you got to go back and forth. It's probably perhaps one of the reasons why in Arizona we still don't have a budget yet for the state, because they're still going back and forth. Everybody hasn't finished talking and yelling at each other. Well, it happens at the club level. Believe it or not, it really does. Now, your club might be doing it okay, and everybody can get away with, oh gosh, I'd like an extra $50 for this in the budget so that I can spend it. And you're going to go, well, okay, if we raise it through fines, I can tell the tail twister that instead of it being a 50-cent fine, it's going to be $1 fine for doing something,
Yeah.
whatever. But you need to put together that kind of a budget and give the decision makers, which is the club president and the board, give them the tools with which to make an informed decision. Um, at the same time, you're going to be the one that's collecting the member dues, which means you also are the one that's going to make a recommendation to the board. If this is the budget you want to work with, then we got to raise dues because we got to have more money. Or maybe we don't need to raise dues. Maybe we can get away with a few extra fines or whatever and get it from the club. But
Hmm.
if the board comes to you or the president comes to you and says, "Hey, we haven't raised dues in 10 years. Do you think it's time that we raise dues?" No, you're the person they're gonna come to and ask. They aren't going to ask the tail twister because that tail twister is going to just say, "Yeah, let me have a shot at getting that money." That was a joke. Come on, work with me, guy. The tail twister is the one who's trying to get the money out of us, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
always.
Yeah. So, but you're the one that sets the dues. You're the one that makes that recommendation. True, the board is the one who approves it, but you make the recommendations to them. All right, number 4, you adhere to generally accepted accounting standards. I had to abbreviate it because otherwise it wasn't going to fit on the screen. But you're already a company controller, right? Isn't
Yes.
that what you said? So you know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. What is that term? Generally accepted accounting standards. That means you can't subtract when you're supposed to add. You know, a debit and a credit, you know what the difference is between the two. So that's not a big deal for you. You're going to be able
Yeah.
to handle that fine. And that also means that maintaining appropriate financial records, that's going to be right up your alley. You can handle that as well
Yeah.
because you know what kind of records you need to keep. But we're going to go over a list of those so that you know exactly what LCI is recommending. So we're gonna say some things as we go through this training that is going to be, wait a minute, this was accounting 101. I don't need to take accounting 101 again. I'm up here at 404 or whatever. But just you kind of, and feel free if I'm saying something wrong, then please jump right in.
No
Um,
problem.
and hopefully along the line, you're going to be maintaining all of the appropriate financial policies that your club has. And I don't know what that is, but that's what we're going to want to have you be responsible for, is to keep going with the financial policies that your club is doing, as well as what Lions Clubs International would want of you as a club treasurer. Now, that was
Okay.
part of what you were asking. What does LCI want me to do so I do it right? So we're going to probably spend a little more time on number 6 down there when we get to it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let's take it. One of the most important things that you're going to want to do is prepare to lead. By that I mean, if this is not your first time doing it, but even though it's not your first time, between now and July 1, which is the start of the new year, you're going to want to make sure that you got this year done, finished, closed, the books are closed, and you've got a brand new set of books to work with for the new year, right? Isn't that
Correct.
generally accepted accounting standards? You close out one fiscal year and then you start the next. Sometimes there's a bit of an overlap as you're still waiting for monies to come in or bills to be paid and accounted for or whatever. But basically, you're still trying to have a drop dead stop date for accounting of the fiscal year as of June 30th. And then the new fiscal year starts July 1. Now, I'm assuming that that's the way you're doing it because that's the Lions year. Uh, is your club working on a calendar year
No,
fiscal?
no. We have
Okay,
the same, like, yeah, we have the same fiscal year.
same fiscal year. That's fine. All right. So, what are the resources? The most important thing in preparing to lead as a club leader and preparing to succeed as a club leader, what are some of the tools that you should know? Well, I'll tell you right now, one of the most important things to be knowing and be familiar with is your Club Treasurer ebook. That's that file that's available for download. It says GLT Treasurer ebook. It's the one that I showed you a few moments ago up on the website, so you can download it. It literally is a PDF that has a lot of different areas in it that talks about here's what you need to make sure you're covering. And if you have a question on it or you need more information, there's actually a built-in hyperlink so that
Okay.
you can click on it, go right to the website, go right to LCI, and be able to look at the resources and the references that are in that book. Have
Okay.
you used the ebook before?
Yes, I've used it.
Okay. Do you feel you're familiar with it?
Yes.
Okay, then I will try to minimize that, but at least you know where some of the answers are.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Something else that might be helpful for you in working is the understanding your club constitution and bylaws. There is a standard that LCI has that you can read. There isn't very much specifically about treasurers in there, but it does deal with policies. Uh, LCI doesn't want you to cheat, doesn't want you to steal money, wants you to keep track of the numbers so that they all match. Uh, and it's basically outlined in the Constitution and bylaws that the treasurer will maintain generally accepted accounting standards. You, as a controller, you know what that means. But a lot of
Yeah.
club treasurers are going, gee, I'm not sure I know how to add and subtract. Why did they make me a treasurer? Oh, because I have money, so I can make up for all of the mistakes that people make. Uh, no, I'm teasing. Uh, but also that other file, their best practices for financial transparency. Another great tool for you, because the one thing that you don't want to be, even the hint of wait a minute, he doesn't keep good records, so we got to watch him like a hawk. You know, guy's just got that look on his face. I don't trust him. He just is a nefarious kind of guy, and I know better than that. I can tell, I can see and read that you're a good guy. So, but some people just don't know. Knowing that these are the practices for financial transparency, what are they? This is a Lions item, and you can literally click on it. It's in the ebook, and it tells you here are some of the tricks for keeping that financial transparency. We're going to cover more of them a little bit later. So there will be a section in here that we're going to talk about that deals with transparency and more details in terms of what's going on here. But this is a great reference, a great resource tool for you. So ebook, knowing the Constitution and bylaws, and what are the best practices for financial, and it says suspension there because you don't want to go into suspension. When a club goes into financial suspension, that means that they haven't been paying their dues, they haven't been paying their bills, and after as short a period of time as 90 days, when you go into financial suspension as a club, you're not allowed to go out into the community and raise funds.
Oh, okay.
And that's a hard thing. A lot of clubs say, "Oh gosh, what's LCI going to do? Take away our charter?" Well, yeah, that's exactly what it's going to do. You don't pay your
Yeah.
bills if you don't be trustworthy to the community, then they don't want to have you be a Lions Club. So
Absolutely.
you never want to get to that point. When
Yeah.
the club, because a person who is a treasurer and doesn't know, oh gosh, I just forgot. I got busy. Life got in the way. And I couldn't write the check to LCI. Well, if you go into financial suspension, it literally shuts down the club. You can't go out into the community, do your service projects, or get donations
Yeah.
and that you don't want to have. That's a black mark that doesn't look good. All right. So that's three of your key resources. Number two, in all of this is you work with a team. You work with a team as of officers. This is the standard club organization. So just so that you recognize that these are the people that you interface with. I don't know if you realize that yet, and I don't know if your club has every one of these, but I'm sure you have a president, you've got a vice president, you've got a secretary, and you are the treasurer. And the previous president is over there on the far left. That's what they refer to as the immediate past president. You might have a second vice president. You should have somebody that's doing marketing communications that's on your club officer list. You may have standing committees. You may have other committees that deal with membership, service, leadership, and finance. Oh, wait a minute. Finance committee. Gosh,
Yeah.
what kind of a resource might that be for you as a controller, CFO, or club treasurer? That's people that are going to be there to help you make sure that the bills are paid. That's going to help you do a quick audit or review of your books. Or when it comes time to putting together the invoices for club dues, you've got a finance committee that can help you do that. Do you want to be listening to all of the committee chairs sending you emails and such all at one time saying, here's money I need for this and need that? Hey, let your finance committee be the ones that filter through all of those financial requests and give you, here's the bottom line of what the club's asking for when you're setting up your budget. So there's lots of ways that you can use that finance committee. But how many clubs even have a finance committee? It's who knows. If your
Yeah.
club's big enough, ironically, if your club has a lot of members, everybody should have a job in the club so that they feel a part of it. And that would be one of the great things that you could see too, that your club leadership, your club officers, that everybody in the club has something to do. They could just be a part of a committee. They could be a part of the membership committee, part of the service committee, but everybody should be doing something for the success of the club.
Yeah.
All right. Um, I was telling you about the Constitution and bylaws. Yes, here's one of the resources that you want to be familiar with. Is it the
Okay.
Bible for you? No, but it's your guidelines. When it comes down to a question of who has the authority to approve the budget, and if the president comes along and says, "Well, I'm the one that has to submit the budget. I'm saying that this is what we're spending the money on." No, the president is not God. No, the president is the chief executive officer, not the chief financial officer, and not the board. It's a collaborative thing. The board is the one that does the approval of the things.
Yeah.
Now, so let's get into the ebook. You've already had some success with it. You already know what's there. I find it particularly helpful because it has that self-study information in there about how to use the Lions Learning Center. Have you ever worked on that? Have you ever gone to
Yes.
the Lions Learning Center?
Yeah.
Great references that are in there. And in fact, this training covers a lot of the stuff that's in the Lions Learning Center. So we're duplicating some of it and giving you some heavy duty personal coaching here. Um, but the ebook helps you, and the Lions Learning Center walks you through those financial responsibilities, such as we've already talked about, preparing budgets, setting annual dues, receiving monies, how it's deposited, making payments on behalf of the club, maintaining the difference between the administrative and the activity accounts. What are the financial reports, filing taxes, compliance, all of those things. And I don't know about you, but after 2 years of being treasurer, the best thing that I was learning was what's the succession plan? Because I want somebody else doing this for a while. This is work.
Yeah.
And there's some very very useful insights on what to do and when to do it. And that was always something that bit me in the you know what, because
Yeah.
at the very last minute, somebody saying, "Hey, did you remember to file the 990?" And I'm going, "Oh, Felder carb, I forgot." You know, fortunately, it's not like somebody's going to cut off your wrist, but it's stuff that you got to think about,
Yeah.
stuff that you got to do. And so these reference tools help you stay on track. So moving forward, who do you work with most closely? This is who you work with most closely: the president, the vice president. Why the vice president?
The vice president, because he or she has to take over, and he or she is kind of in training and needs to know what is happening.
Absolutely. And they're going to be looking to you for what's going to be their budget.
Yeah.
So you're going to be working with them to say, what the hell do you want? What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
You know, what are the expectations that you have for me next year when I'm treasurer? Or if it's going to be somebody else, how do you want me to train that person to be able to jump into that CFO position and get it done? Make sense? All right.
Yes, it does.
How about the secretary? Why do you work with the secretary?
Yeah, the secretary has a big role in the club in terms of putting, it's kind of the glue for the club. And when it
Yes,
comes to dues and things like that, the secretary is involved in reminding people to pay their dues and things like that. So absolutely, the collaboration has to be very tight at that level.
absolutely. And the secretary is the one that's probably going to put together the invoices and mail them,
Yeah.
because she's the one that's got the postage budget. And she's got the copier machine. You know, you just have the printer that's printing out the financial report. You give it to her to make the copies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, delegate, right? You got this. You got this. This is working fine. You know what you're doing. All right. How about the membership chair? How is it that you would be working with the membership chair?
Well, the membership chair, because last year I had that role. No, the year before I was membership, and it because like we were talking previously about the budget. So if we are doing the budget, the membership chairperson has a big role in that because that person will have his or her plan for the year, and that ultimately will tell me how much money we're going to raise through the members. And if things are not going right or things are falling apart, that will be the person I will go to. So I don't have to do that job because we are not getting enough money. And if you have a lot of money, yes, kudos to that person too.
Okay. What about if the membership chair is all set to bring in a brand new member and it's February, and you're getting ready to charge them dues for what? How much are you going to charge them? They're only
Yeah,
going to be a member for in this fiscal year for 4 or 5 more months, but February to June is 4 months. So
yeah.
what are you going to charge them for dues for this month, and are you going to charge them now in February for all of the next year, starting July 1?
Yeah, well, what I did and from my club is we have a spreadsheet together where we kind of designed and we calculated everything depending on the month we have somebody in, we know exactly what the amount is, and the membership chairperson has that and can communicate that to any new member and tell them this is what is going to LCI, this is what is going to the club, this is what is going to the state, and things like that.
And see, you've already got the policies down pat. Perfect.
Yeah. So I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to think about that anymore. We put it together, and if any of those numbers change, we just plug it into the spreadsheet and it
Good.
calculates everything for us.
Excellent. That's very good.
Yeah.
Good resource. Now the membership has that calculation, or do you have that as well?
I have that as well.
Good. Very good. That means you've got belt and suspenders going on in your club.
Yeah.
Keep everybody's pants on, right? No, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. All right. How about on the service chair? How are you working with that service chair?
The service yeah, that one I don't know. You'll have to tell me.
Okay. All right. Well, let's deal with it. Well, the service chair is the one that's going out there to try and coordinate and work with the other members to do the service activities in the community, right?
Hmm.
So how how does that happen when they don't have a budget to be able to go out and do the service activities? If you're going to be doing, for example, you're doing a cemetery cleanup, somewhere along the line there needs to be a budget that's set aside so that everybody's got the rakes and the shovels and the disposable plastic bags to go pick up trash at the cemetery or whatever might be. Um, but those are things that need to happen, and so it's a cost.
Yeah.
So and that's just one project. If your club's really active, you're doing a service project every single month, and each one of those has got different costs. So
Yeah.
you work with that service chairperson to keep track of what are the startup costs, what are the ongoing expenditures that you need to do, because you have to pay those bills. You're going to be the one that writes the check
Yep.
and reimburses somebody if that's the way your policy is. So it's keeping track of those records, and you don't want to have that service chairperson come to you and say, "Oh, guess what? I just paid $1,000 out of my pocket for all of the supplies we needed for the service project that nobody showed up for last weekend." Not a fun picture, is it?
Yeah, that won't be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing that you, as the chief financial officer, need to be on board with mentally so that you can deal with it. You need to know when that service chairperson's got a project coming up so that you can say, okay, yes, we have the money in this particular account. We don't have the budget line item for it, but we do have extra funds. I can go to the board, get this money set aside, have it be liquid so that I can write to the check. I don't know about you, but sometimes you don't have as much liquidity in the bank account as you would like,
Yep.
particularly when somebody comes to you and says, "Oh, I need to have a check to reimburse me for that $1,000." And
Yep.
you say, "I'll get back to you," right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That the one thing that I know for sure is just move everything through the board, and that way
yes.
I'm good.
Yep. Well, and obviously the next person I was going to ask about was how do you work with the board? And you are that financial officer that they're going to look to for advice so that they can make the consent. Advice and consent.
Yes.
They
Yep.
approve it.
Yep.
Just for curiosity's sake, dues. It's now coming up on July 1. Now you've already done your invoices for all your club members. You've already started getting money coming in. Uh, is and let's assume that the board has already approved the budget for next year.
Not yet. We'll
Not
do
yet.
that in, yeah, we'll do that in July
Okay.
because that's when the new board will take over.
Okay.
Yeah.
So um, when are you going to pay the dues then?
We will pay them, I believe the way we do it, that's the history of the club. And they'll say, oh, everybody will pay anyway. So we pay and then we collect the money.
Okay. Well, the
Yeah.
nice thing about it is that the mid-year dues, the ones at the end of December, that's already been approved. When you approve that budget for the year, you don't have to go back to the board and ask for permission to write that check and to send it. It's
Yeah, we
already
don't,
it's
yeah,
already
we
approved.
don't, yes, yes.
Yeah. For that matter, anything that's in the budget that you prepare and that the board approves, You
Yeah.
don't need to keep going back to them for approvals if
Hmm.
it's part of the budget. It's when it's not part of the budget, that's when you got to go to the board,
Yeah.
because they got to be the ones that say, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and shift it from point A to point B, or line item 13 instead of line item 16, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Which, bottom line is, my friend, you are the major link. You
Yeah.
are the link between the club monies and the club members and leadership.
Yeah.
So recognize the power position. Do you like power? You look like a guy that likes to have the power.
I believe the power comes to me.
Yeah, well, you've got the power. You are the link between the club monies and the club members and leadership. So you have that responsibility and you have authority, which
Yeah.
in business, as you probably recognize, sometimes you get a lot of authority, but you don't get the chutzpah to be able to go do very much. You got
Yeah.
somebody else you got to report to. You have the responsibility, but you don't always have that authority.
Yeah.
It's dumped on your shoulders, but at the same time, yeah, believe me, I've been there, done that. Okay, let's go to that list that I started off with. What are the 6 things that you got to be doing? And let's kind of go through some of these things. Okay, attend meetings. This is kind of a short list of some of the kinds of meetings that you might be. This is where the expectations is probably a great way of identifying it. People are going to be expecting you to be at as many meetings as you possibly can. That doesn't mean that you have to be 100% attendance. Let's be reasonable. Uh, we don't live in lions. We live in the real world. And sometimes you just can't be everywhere and be everything to everyone. So you have to make the judgment call. But ideally, you'd be at as many general membership meetings as you can. You definitely want to be at the board meetings because they're going to be looking to you for financial advice when they're making the decisions.
Yeah.
Uh, you're an active lion, so you're going to want to be at as many service activities. So the expectation that people will have of you is that you're going to be there as much as you can. The other things are, yes, you're going to want to try and be involved at the zone level because you are a part of the district governor's advisory committee, and I'll get into more of that as we move forward. Um, and at the end of the year, you're going to be part of the officer transition, and you may want to be part of the going to the district convention so that you make sure that the person who's replacing you as treasurer gets a good understanding of how the district can support you and your club. There may be other meetings that you have to go to that the board calls. You know, the board calls a special meeting because they're saying, "Hey, how come we paid this check? I don't remember why we were supposed to pay this check. Can you explain it to us?" And
Hmm.
so they may ask you to show up. So that's what people will be expecting of you. They may also be expecting of you, just as I said at the outset, that you're going to be coming up with the club budget. It's typically done in conjunction with the finance committee and the president. You're the money person. You're the one who knows how to add and subtract. Most of them don't even know how to balance their checkbook. That's why they give it to their wife. See, I like it. I like it when I see you smile. You've got that great big grin on your face, and you're going, yeah, that's about right. I run it right. I let my wife do most of the stuff. And there's 2 budgets. It's not just one budget because you have one budget for the administrative account and one budget for the activities account.
Yes.
Now you may call them something else. I don't know. Do you have a foundation?
Yes, we have a foundation.
All right. So is that the activities account or the administrative account?
Activities.
That's right. See, you got all the answers. You could be teaching this class.
In a few years.
All right. Well, you know, but I've listed on this slide, the admin account is for that internal running of the clubs. It's where you collect the dues. It's monies that are raised from the members, like the tail twister, or like the anything else. A club member donates to the club. Well, it's coming into the club
Hmm.
from a member, so it's not necessarily foundation side. That's where you're going to need to have some advice, which is a great thing to have a finance committee for. If somebody donates a desk for you to use or donates a printer for you to use, does that become a tax deduction for them because they gave it to Lions? Or is it just a straight donation because they gave it so that you could just do your job as the treasurer?
Should be
Interesting.
deduct. Yeah, that is
Which is it?
an. I think it is deductible, but if the donation came to the foundation, yes. But if it goes to the admin, I'm not sure.
Well, you're going to be the one that's doing the accounting side of it. So you're going to put it into the account. Are you going to put it into the budget as income or a in-kind donation into the activity fund or into the admin fund?
It depends because it depends on what the donor wants. If the donor is really
Perfect.
saying this is what I'm doing, then that's what we go with. Yeah.
That's right. The secret to the success of that question, it was a trick question. I got to admit, Guy. I was trying to trip you up, and you answered it perfectly. You're not
Yeah.
a tax accountant. What
Yeah.
the
No.
what the member does on his tax bill is not what you want to know,
Yeah.
unless you happen to be their tax advisor. If you are their
No.
tax advisor, that's one thing. But most of most of the time, you aren't going to want to do that. So you let them decide whether they're going to deduct it. But you
Yeah.
need to be able to put the in kind into where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Either way, it's going to be a Lions. It's going to the Lions. And so when you write the letter, thank you for your generous contribution or generous donation of such and such. Uh, we appreciate your support of Lions. The value of this is $50 and it may be a tax deductible item. You
Yeah.
know, that's what you're going to put in that thank you letter.
Hmm.
And don't forget to write the thank you letter or have
Yeah.
the secretary write the thank you letter.
Yeah.
All right. Um, the two budgets are extremely important to keep, and I'm sure you know that already. Uh, it's spelled out because one is monies that is going to the public. That's all in the activities. Monies that is generated for the operations of the club operations. That's all admin money, administrative.
Yeah.
Can activities monies pay for dues, pay for expenses of club operations?
No.
All right. But if you have extra money in your admin account, can that go to support community activities?
Yes.
See, you got all the answers. You're doing great. Okay, perfect. You're absolutely correct. And that's part of the policies that need to make sure that is part of your club understanding. And that's why in your policies manual, you would have in there that these are some of the times that we've had a conundrum of,
Mhm.
is this, can we do this? We've got this nice donation. Can we do it this way? Can we do it that way? They wanted it to go to Lions to support the club, but it's really going to be supporting our efforts in the community. So it needs to go into which account? These are the policy things that you, as the treasurer, you're keeping track of what you've done in the past so that that can continue to be moving forward, because the IRS will come out and nail you when you are inconsistent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what you don't want to have happen. You want to be doing a consistent set of policies. All right. You're
All right.
managing. Am I covering what you want?
Yes, absolutely. This is
Okay.
great.
So we're some of this stuff we're reviewing, but some of it is making sure that you and I are on the same page, because this is what LCI is coming back with. Most important, you've noticed down there it's talking about you need to manage the club's accounts, which means that somebody has to resolve to have new signatories on the bank accounts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Does the treasurer just go to the bank and say, hey, Bill and Jenny are now signers on the account? What's the bank
No,
going to? Yeah,
no, it comes from the board.
that's
Well,
right.
it comes from a board meeting. We have to have a board resolution and all those documents, and then yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Good. Good. You got it right. All right. Um, in the ebook, use of funds guidelines is a great resource tool. You know,
Okay.
how do you use it? So it's a great thing to use. How about that general liability insurance program? Has your club participated in that coming out of LCI?
I believe we do have that.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
And you budget for that in the year so that all of the members are paying for that expense out of their dues.
We didn't budget it that way, but I
Oh,
think we are paying it out of the admin fund, which is kind of coming from the members. Yeah.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. It's whether it's coming through, you know, the tail twister monies or it's coming through membership dues, it has to come from there.
Yeah.
You can't take donation monies that are coming from the public to pay for operations.
No. Yeah.
All right. There is the LCI and the LCIF privacy policy. That's another one of those publications that LCI is trying to make sure that, you know, you don't give away the bank account numbers to somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, some of this stuff is pretty basic, but it's common sense, which is why
Hmm.
you're a CFO. Because let's face it, presidents have a tendency to work off of their emotions. CFOs have to make sure that they document it and it's in paper. It's debits and credits, period. X's and O's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're on the same page. All
Yeah.
right. Expectation is that you're going to set annual member dues as approved by the board, which means that when the insurance bill is a little bit higher than it was last year, either you can absorb that increase, or you're going to have to say, okay, members, we've got 30 members and it's a $300. We're going to charge $1 more for dues.
Yeah.
You know, somewhere along the line, you have to be the bad guy sometimes and say to them, this is what's happening, folks. You want to have this coverage, you want to have all of these bells and whistles. To do so, pony up.
Yeah.
And I know I've been in my club long enough to know having dues change is tantamount to somebody taking a gun to their head and saying, you will fork over a $5 bill. I mean, it's they will go kicking and screaming down the block at the top of their voice, yelling and screaming, how can you be charging $5 more in dues? We've been paying the same $75 for the last 50 years of our existence. Why are you charging more? Well, there's a thing called inflation. There's a thing called cost of living. There's a thing called if I don't charge you here, I'm going to have the tail twister charge you there because it's got to get paid
Yeah.
somehow, some way. Um, This is some guidelines for you. Invoices sent to members should be 10 days before you expect them to be paying. Now, my club, we send out the dues 45 days in advance. You know,
Cool.
and the reason we do it 45 days in advance, it's asking them, they've got 30 days to plug it into their household budget. And more importantly, uh, they can say soon enough, I'm not sure I'm going to renew this year, or I haven't got the whatever amount it might be. I want to go a payment plan in the club.
Okay.
And we offer a payment plan. Uh, we literally in my club, we don't care how you pay it, you just got to pay it. And if it needs to be stretched out, our club is solvent enough to we'll take care of those club members that don't have enough financial resources. And you know the only two people that know about it?
The president and the treasurer.
You got it. Exactly. You know, it's not a decision that you make as a treasurer all by yourself, but it doesn't need to go to the membership and it doesn't need to go to the board because the president does have the discretionary of we have a member who wants to renew, but is asking to be able to pay it over 3 months or 6 months or whatever. And I've
Mhm.
authorized that for the treasurer. Do you think anybody else is going to care?
No.
Is it any of their business? No, that's part of
No.
that
As long as
private.
the members are active, everybody's happy.
Yeah, and everybody still has John Doe, whatever or whoever it was, Jane Doe is still a member of the club, and it's between you and that club member of okay, that $25 payment I need to have before the end of this month. So just a reminder for you. You know, it's a
Yeah.
lot better than $75 at the beginning of the year. You know, it doesn't make a difference how you work it, but that's part of what you need to do. But ideally, LCI's parameters are that the dues should be collected in advance.
Mhm.
Whether you do it annually or semi-annually, that's when you pay it to LCI. How you get it from the members is up to you.
Okay.
Part of the challenge that you have is to keep good financial records. This is the only place I don't have an example because there there is no easy way to do it. Financial records keeping. Do you use QuickBooks or Quicken?
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks. All right. I learned on a ledger sheet. I didn't like the digital idea. I wanted to see it on paper. Who's got the better way?
I I like QuickBooks.
Yeah, yeah. But you're absolutely. It doesn't matter. The idea
Yeah.
is that you're keeping it somehow recorded. You're keeping the
Yeah.
records down. You're keeping good records of what you're. Even if it's old school, which believe me, I've got the gray hair to prove that I'm old school. Uh, you know, I did it on a plain old, the green with the lines and everything in it, debit, credit, and there's the balance, and I had the great big long wide spreadsheet things that would go 12 months out so that I could put into each column, here is my different activities that had been approved and what kind of monies came in under that category. I did it the long, hard way,
Yeah.
but I felt more comfortable doing it out the hard way than using QuickBooks or Quicken. But that's up to you. Some people just are not computer savvy, myself included.
You're doing great.
Well, it all comes down to how do you just keep track of it all? And
Yeah.
that's what's keeping good financial records. Oops, I went the wrong way. Here we go. There we go. 5A is maintaining club financial policies, and we've already started talking about that. By the way, we've been at this for about an hour. Do you want to take a break for a moment?
Yeah. I think we should take a break.
Okay, we're at a good breaking point. It's I've got 10:02. You want to get back together at say 10 after?
Sure.
Okay. Let's take a
Yeah.
break for a moment and we'll come back in 10 minutes.
All right.
Besides, I need to refill my coffee cup. Oh, wait a minute. I got to refill my coffee cup.
All right.
All right, we'll be right back. Yeah, I know.
Okay, you're recording.
Okay, excellent. We're recording this for posterity so that we make sure that we know exactly who did what, and that way I can be held to the carpet if I say something wrong. They'll they'll say, Ken, how dare you tell Guy that he can do this? He's not supposed to be able to do that. So don't give him wrong information. You know, just because you got gray hair doesn't mean you know everything. I'm going to be going, you're absolutely right. Just because I have gray hair doesn't mean I know everything. And if you don't believe me, just ask my wife. She will affirm that I do not know everything. Okay, let's go ahead and keep going. Is that all right with you?
Yes, ready.
Okay. Going back to the expectations, we've been covering some of the things, the expectations of you and the expectations that other people have of you as a club treasurer. So far, you've been answering everything 100% perfect. So congratulations. You definitely know your stuff. And it's obvious that as a CFO, uh, you were the right person to do the treasurer job.
Thank you.
Well, so far you've been answering all the questions I've been giving you in the right way, so you know it. But a lot of it is common sense. I mean, and let's
Yeah,
face it, that's half the battle. Is this is the right thing to do because it's a generally accepted accounting practice, and
yeah.
that's part of where Alliance is coming from for the role of treasurer. So
Hmm.
maintain the club financial policies is part of that etherical scenario. You want to have guidelines. You want to have, here's what we've done in the past so we can continue doing that or make a change if it's the right thing to do. If you don't know what you've done, how will you know what you want to do? Did you freeze up on me? Oh, there he goes. Yeah, okay, there.
I think I did, but
Yeah,
I'm back.
you came back.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. You had that great stoic look, and I'm going, uh-oh. I know I can bore people to death, but gee, that's getting really harsh.
No, I'm not bored. We're doing great. I am not bored at all.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Uh, some of the policies that are pretty basic and are understandable. You've got to comply with state and federal regulations. That means you got to file the 990. In Arizona, you got to file with the Arizona Corporation Commission.
Hmm.
It's a pain in the Gazornan plat, but it's part of what we have to do.
Yeah,
And for a new treasurer who doesn't know necessarily what they're doing, it can be a little intimidating. I have to file IRS. I don't even like to file the 10, the 1040 with my taxes on April 15th. Now I got to do another number. What the hell is a 990? You know, it's no big deal, but it can be intimidating. I'm working with the government again.
yeah,
Yeah. You know that it's very easy and but it's just has to be done.
yeah,
Uh, on the board, policy should be that yes, the board is the one who approves where do you have the bank accounts. Now,
mhm,
are they going to say you need to go to Credit Union West or that you have to go to Wells Fargo? You know, it may not make a difference, but
yeah,
you still have to have the board approval because in their club minutes, board minutes, they have to say specifically to open an account or to change the signatories on account such and such an institution because it becomes the legal documentation authorizing you to do so.
yeah,
The board is the one who makes the decision. Do they really care? No. Will they listen to your recommendation of who to go to? Of course they will,
yeah.
except if it's the bank of Guy Kwao or Kawu. I'm sorry. Did I probably butchered that pronunciation, but I was,
That is okay. I know you're talking about me.
yeah. The Bank of Kenlea, it would not be an acceptable bank, you know.
Yeah.
So it needs to be approved by the board. They are the ones that will authorize anything that's for fixed billings, such as every year you're going to renew the insurance account, or every year you're going to renew the directors and officers liability insurance that you're doing.
Hmm.
Whatever it might be, the board has to be the one that approves those things. And it's made through your recommendation as the chief financial officer. Um,
Okay.
the one line that I put in here, which a lot of people just somehow forget, it's part of Lions Club's international policy. No indebtedness nor donation commitment goes beyond the current fiscal year. When you think about it, it makes a whole lot of sense. But people will say, we'd like to have a 2-year donation. Well, but it's a different board. It may be a different treasurer. It may be different officers in the next year, that you can make a donation or you can make an indebtedness in your year, but it should not carry over to somebody else's year.
Hmm.
Now, does that mean that the board can't make a financial payment commitment in this year and it's paid over the next 2 years? Well, that's a kind of an iffy situation, because that means that you have an indebtedness that carries over into a different current year. Officially, no, you're not supposed to do it. You would say, save up the money for next year. And then if the next year says, let's do it, then you've got 2 years worth of budgets. Now you can pay for it. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. You know, if the club is going to do a fundraising campaign and they want to go out and buy a popcorn machine, and they're going to sell popcorn at the different fairs and such, and they're going to do this, and this is going to become our signature fundraising campaign, can that popcorn machine purchase be spread out over multiple years?
Oh, that's a question. Oh, yeah. I do believe that it depends. Again, I think the board has to make the decision, but I don't know the role. But what I would do is take it to the club members and have the club members participate in that the process for that decision making. So because yeah, the board changes every year, but club members are, I think, the majority. Even if people come, people go, most of the members will be there. So
Most of the members will be there, and your board should be made up of 2 terms, a first
yeah,
year and a second year, so that there is a continuity from one regime to the next regime.
yeah,
But officially, the rule of thumb is that no, it shouldn't be. It should be,
yeah,
because if you're a year from now, your club may say, you know, we didn't make enough money that last year on the popcorn. Let's do a what do they call it? The candy, the cotton candy.
candy, yeah, cotton
Yeah,
candy, yeah,
yeah. Let's go buy a cotton candy machine instead of a popcorn machine. You know, and if you need to pay for that popcorn machine for another year, you need the money from this year's sales to finish paying for it.
yeah.
And it's got to be a board decision, but the rule of thumb, and there is the old caveat that rules are made to be broken wisely. But generally,
As long as you have wise people.
yes, as long as you have wise But I mean, that's part of that policy thing. Remember, we were talking in terms of what's the policy.
Yeah.
If your policy is one of we're going to buy it when we have the money to buy it and we'll make it work, because we shouldn't be indebting another regime, another batch of officers with something that is from their past.
Yeah.
So, and it's the same with making a financial commitment. We're going to pay, we're going to give $1,000 scholarship every year, but we only have $1,000 this year. But we're gonna make a commitment to make a scholarship every year for the next 10 years of $1,000. Or then you're indebting the club for $1,000 every year, and 2 years from now, 3 years from now, you may have gone through a COVID-19 scenario where you're not meeting and you don't have the money again, and you can't make that $1,000 commitment.
Yeah.
So you use as the policy, we will do everything in our power not to indebt nor make a donation commitment beyond our current fiscal year. That's our policy. Rules are made to be broken wisely,
Yep.
but here is our policy. So that's why I bring up this particular scenario, because it's something that happens to a lot of clubs. They're thinking very generously, and they can't necessarily do it year after year after year after year, because we don't know the future. Unless, Guy, you have that magic crystal ball there at your home office. I didn't
Nope.
think so, because I'd borrow it from you, because I can certainly use it. Uh, Another element that deals with the policies is maintaining that paper trail. You've got a paper trail of all transactions, whether it's your budgets, that should be a paper trail. Reports, filings, paper trail. Deposits, paper trail. Now, digitally, that's okay, but that means a backup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Records retention. When I started as a treasurer, I had a small 2-drawer file cabinet. One of those little, could fit under the desk. I could put the 2-drawer file cabinet under the desk here in my home office.
Yeah.
I now have two 6 foot tall 5-drawer cabinets of all of the records. Now, you're going to tell me, Guy, that I should go and get a scanner and just start scanning all of that paper trail and do it digitally, and I can put it onto a thumb drive or a flash drive.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, I know. I'm not that far along technology, but I know that it can be done. Okay, I I agree with you. I can do that and put it onto a little flash drive. It's
Yeah.
just I haven't gone that far. But keeping all that paperwork, that was the important thing for me, to just make sure that we didn't lose those records, because that's the history.
Yeah.
That's so that if anybody ever calls up and says, Ken, what did you do with that $1,000? I don't want to write a check for $1,000 because I can't account for it. I can
Mm-hmm.
go to that folder, pull it out, and say, here's what was done with it. And guess what? The board authorized it. The president signed a check. And
Yeah.
we've got that paper trail. If you don't keep it, that kind of a paper trail, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to bite you in the tush when you least expect it, and that's not going to be pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's adhere to those generally accepted accounting practices. And you know that as a CFO.
Yep.
So now comes the fun part, succession planning. And yes, I mean that exactly. Uh, at some point in time, you're going to say, I don't want to be treasurer anymore. I want to be club president.
Well, fortunately for me, I've been club president already. I've kind of held most of the position except treasurer. That treasurer, secretary. That's the one that I don't want. That's a
Ah,
lot of work. That is a lot of work.
yeah. Yeah, we're doing the secretary training at 1 o'clock today, and uh, the, remember at the beginning I asked the question, what were you thinking to become
Yeah.
treasurer? My other question for the people who are going to become secretaries is, what are you going to be doing with all of the copious free time you don't have any longer?
Oh, yeah. I'm not going for that one yet.
It takes a special kind of person to be able to do the secretary.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will tell you though that it was actually a very rewarding experience. I'm glad I only did it for 1 year, but it was a rewarding experience.
All right.
It uh, and when you finish doing that, and maybe when you finish being treasurer, maybe it's time for you to become a district governor.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, you know what it's like going up through the chain of responsibilities. You know how to make the club successful. Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
Let's talk about what the process is in terms of the succession planning, because one of the things that you need to be prepared to do is turn over to
Hmm.
somebody else, which means that they can't remember what you can't remember. So
Yeah.
you have to have it documented. You have to have it in such a way that they can look at it and say, oh, now I know what he was doing. Now I know what he was thinking. It's all nice and cleanly documented. And it's perfect because it's usually a very simple process, because you're only dealing with X's and O's. I mean, dollars in a debit line or a credit line, and
Hmm.
it's supposed to balance out at the end.
Yeah.
Uh, you want to be able to have at the end of your year, here is my end of year financial statement saying here is what we've ultimately brought in and here is what we ultimately spent, and it's all accounted for, and here is how it compares to what the budget was that we started with. So you've got all of those things right there in paper, that the new treasurer has a fresh start for everything that's going to happen in their term as treasurer. The one thing that most clubs don't do, and they are actually asked to do by LCI every year, is to either have the books audited or reviewed. Now, an audit can be expensive.
Yeah.
And if you have D&O insurance and you have treasurer's liability insurance already covered, there's really not much need to go down that pathway, but they should be reviewed. And how many times is that review done by somebody in the club?
It should be done by the finance committee. They should be doing that every quarter minimum. They should be reviewing it.
You're absolutely right. The finance committee should be doing it as you do it going
Yeah.
throughout the year. But at
Yeah.
the end of the year, you really should have it either be reviewed or audited by somebody outside the club,
Yeah.
only to make sure that it's correct, generally accepted accounting principles, that you're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Uh, we fortunately have two other Lions clubs here in our area. And guess what? There's always a CPA or an insurance person or somebody who's really comfortable with numbers that's part of the other Lions clubs. And so part of what we do is we share it amongst the three. I
Yeah.
give mine to the Sunrise Club guy, and it's only one member in the club, and say, just do a review, make sure we haven't done anything inappropriate.
Yeah.
And that person does the review. We do the review for them, so that it's it's somebody that's within Lions, but somebody who's also a professional. And it's not meant to demean you as a controller, or that you don't know what you're doing. It's best practices. It's good to have that fresh pair of eyes looking at it to say, yeah, you're doing everything fine. You might want to learn how to spell the word audit, but
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know. I know the principle with my job. I
yes.
do. Yeah, I have an audit every year. because I work for a not-for-profit, and we do the Form 990, and the audit is published,
Yep.
and the Form 990 is published, and all those forms are published. So I'm that's a normal process for me.
Yeah. Well, I always know that, when I was running a corporation and as CEO of the corporation, when it came time for doing the audit and the independent auditors were coming in, my CFO was a basket case. I mean, you could not talk to that individual. They were saying, leave me the hell alone. I've got the auditors are in here. They're asking me questions and I got to find all this stuff. Don't ask me for a budget statement. Don't ask me for a credit card form. Just leave me the hell alone and go about what you have to do because I'm taking care of the most important thing, which is this audit.
Yeah,
And I learned very quickly, yes, you got it. That week or 10 days or 2 days or whatever it was going to take,
yeah,
Bill is left alone. Don't
yeah,
don't even offer to get him coffee. Forget even offering him Starbucks. He's so wired to begin with already.
yeah,
So been there and done that. I totally can appreciate it.
yeah.
But an audit can be very expensive, but at least review.
Hmm.
Our club likes to do a review every other year. So we do a review 1 year and then an audit and then back to a review because it is an
Okay,
expense. It
okay.
it and we make sure that it's not somebody in the club, it's somebody elsewhere.
Hmm.
One of the nice things is that we have lions in the district that will do it for you. They'll either do the audit or do the financial review, your choice. And they do it gratis. They do it as we're here to help. So there are resources for every single club.
Okay,
One of them is somebody down in your, not necessarily in your neck of the woods, but he's down in your district, and that's Alan Lundgren, past international
okay,
director. Uh, he has made it almost like a standing offer that, hey, if you need help with a review or an audit, give me a call.
okay.
Okay. One of the nice things about being part of the leadership team in your club is that you are not alone. You have the support of everybody else that's part of the officer corps. They may not know how to do a debit and a credit, but they still know the importance of the job that you're doing. And
Absolutely.
they are more than happy to help you any way they possibly can.
Hmm.
As a club treasurer, you also have a opportunity to be part of the district advisory committee, and that's where you can help them and other clubs within your zone with their accounting procedures, because some of them are going to be, here, let's just get Ma and Pa Kettle uh, to be the secretary and zone chair because they're here all the time, but they don't have a computer, they don't have an email, they have an abacus instead of a calculator, they use everything old school handwriting, but they're just the nicest of people and I trust them with everything. you know those are the kinds of people that you go, oh my gosh, what did you get yourself into? They need all the help in the world. What can I do to help you? So that's where it comes down to what can you do, and making the connections with it as a district officer as well as a club officer. You'll also get some good networking tips, uh, helping them, as well as finding out how you can best serve other clubs and participate in other club activities, is doing that kind of networking. So prepare to lead, prepare to succeed. What is it, the things that you need to be covering? Well, this is the 6 things that we had talked about. Um, and you wanted to know, most importantly, uh, what were the ones that are part of LCI's mandate for you to be doing? have I answered most of your questions? Is there something else that we haven't covered yet?
Oh no, I got all my answers.
Well, I like that. Now you're gonna give me an A on the evaluation afterwards, right?
A plus.
Ah, you're so kind. I appreciate it. Uh, I want to make sure that we've covered all the things that, because I want you to succeed as a treasurer. You've already succeeded as a lion, and I thank you for your service.
Thank
You've
you.
already succeeded as being membership chair. You have taken on a brand new or you a responsibility in the club that is definitely right up your alley as a controller, and that's doing the treasurer's role. So this is going to be a no-brainer for you, and I know that that's right. It's just a question of, have you dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's as a treasurer that LCI is expecting of you, that your club members are expecting of you, that your club leadership is expecting of you? Based on
Mhm.
the answers you've been giving me, I'd say that you've got it down pat. Uh, Sure, you
Thank
don't
you.
have any other questions that I can try to help with.
No, I think I'm good. I
Okay.
got all the answers. Yes.
Well, I hope. I do want you to know you've got resources. Use
Yes.
them. You've got
Mhm.
the ebook. Use it. In the handouts that we sent to you that you can download, there is that new treasurer, new dues, new membership dues. It's really old now, but it's still a kind of a good worksheet to help you with, if somebody's joining in February, what dues should you charge, and then figure out how you're going to charge them for the next year. As
Yeah.
part of your policy, you should have something in it that says, hey, if somebody's joining after the midpoint, you're going to charge them also for next year's dues.
Mhm.
Or in the first time, you're going to prorate them only for the fiscal year's dues.
Yeah.
These should be a policy thing that you can go look at and then say, this is the way we've done it in the past. This is the way we'll continue to do it.
Yeah.
Also in there, the treasurer using of funds documents. There's both a policy guide, that's what it's called, treasurer use funds guide, and also a fact sheet. They're great little tools that help with what kind of other elements you want to have for policies. You can just download those and start using it right away quick.
Okay.
The LLC responsibilities that you can download either from the web or download it from the materials. You should have a little window that says, here is your materials. If you click on
Yeah.
those, it'll
Yeah, I
download
got
directly.
that.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
that's where they are. So you can literally just click on it and download it right to your machine. You don't even have to go to the website if you want to. But all
Yeah.
of those are your tools to be able to do the job, and more importantly, to be able to pass on to the next person.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how much time you've spent going onto the website, the My LCI, uh, but I can assure you that My LCI has a tremendous amount of resources available to you.
Mhm.
You can find how to light a matchstick on the LCI website. It's got that kind of stuff. Um, Moving forward, uh, there's one thing down here that I'd like to make as a suggestion for you, and that's create your own calendar of financial deadlines.
Yeah.
Life has a tendency to get in our way, and we forget that there is a May 15 deadline, there's an April 15 deadline, there's a November 20th deadline of stuff that needs to be filed, and you probably have other things that are part of what you've already discovered. You know, the insurance needs to be paid by such and such a date. The
Mhm.
dues need to be paid by such and such a date. Put that kind of a calendar together so that you can be able to say to the board when you go to their board meeting in November and they're saying, wouldn't it be lovely if we transferred $3,000 from our admin account into our activities account so we can go buy gifts for all of the school kids in Tucson? And you can say to them, will you realize that that $3,000 is to pay dues in January? You know, that you're that you're the boat anchor
Yeah.
sometimes,
Hmm.
but you're also the pragmatist all the time.
Yeah.
So little tricks that I found that to be of extreme value to me is when I started my year, I sat down there and said, what are the deadlines that I need to know? And I put those calendars out there. And sure enough, we had club members who didn't appreciate the fact that dues are paid twice a year. And so they are thinking, I'm making these wonderful financial reports that we've got all this money sitting in the bank account without realizing it's not earned income yet. You know what I'm saying. I can see by the smile on your face. You know what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it can't be spent. So or shouldn't be spent that way. If you want to spend it, we're not following our policies. We're not
Yeah.
using good generally accepted accounting practices, but you guys are the boss. You make the decisions, but
Yeah.
I'm not recommending it, and you're on record. And who can fault you when you have the right ammunition because you thought about it and you're prepared because you've got those deadlines ahead of you. Um, that's why one of the first things that I did in becoming a treasurer was reviewed what had been done before. Fortunately, I had some great people before me. Well, you're a great people now, and so part of your succession plan should be putting together those same documentation ready for the next person to pick it up. Make their job a little bit easier,
Yeah.
and they're going to say, "Boy, that guy, he he really is cool. He really knew his stuff." So, moving forward, what's ahead of you? Prepare for from the beginning of the year to make it a success. Uh, get in touch with your club officers and do additional training. Go to the ebook. Read the ebook. Go to some of the links that are in there. I went through some
Mhm.
of the links because I had no clue what they were really saying. When I got into it, it was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it was a great novel. I mean, it was not the best reading in the world. I can think of a lot of other books I'd rather read, and there are some movies I would rather go watch, including Avatar. But but go through some of the other links and check and see what's going on. You might even want to go when you're in the Lions Learning Center and take the course on being a secretary. It doesn't hurt to take the class and see what's going on to find out, yeah, I don't want to work that hard. Or, yeah, if I organize it right, it's not going to be that difficult. I might try that so that I can actually spend some time doing it.
Yeah.
You know, uh, who knows? Moving forward, you may want to put together a great big, nice, long list of here are things that need to get covered that you want to pass on to the next person. Some been there, done that. I don't want you to do it the same way I did it because I can think of a better way of doing it now that I'm done. You know, that 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 life experience that you can share.
Hmm.
At this particular point, you are fully prepared for next year because you've already been doing it for a year. All I'm doing is filling in some of the blanks, I hope.
Yeah.
So I'm going to click to uh, success is planning. Use your resources. Go to the Lions Learning Center. It offers some situations in there. Having a good financial accounting is a great way to get your club the Club Excellence Award. It doesn't really have a treasury component in it, but it's something that you, as a club officer and as a past president, should be saying we should be striving to get the Club Excellence Award every single year.
Yeah.
And use that as part of your officers. You're working with the rest of the officers to make that kind of thing happen. So I think that at this particular point, you're ready to go. Any last questions that I can try and answer for you? Anything that I missed?
You have missed nothing.
Uh, Thank you. Uh, I'll put that in my parking lot for next time.
All right. Yeah,
All
I
right,
got
but
all the answers that I needed, so I'm good.
good. Well, I'm going to just ask you one last question. I just want to check to make sure that we have explored today the role of the club treasurer, attending meetings, club budgets, member dues, payments and managing that, financial records, financial policies, and the succession plan. Did we get everything covered to your
Absolutely.
satisfaction? All
Yes,
right.
absolutely. Yeah.
In that case, Guy, we're going to get out of here early because we had a lot of good personal coaching on this. I've enjoyed working with you. I look forward to seeing you at the multiple district mid-year. Uh,
All right.
and and you can tell me, oh yeah, you're that PDG, and I thought they were past, done, gone. That's what a PDG stands for. Uh, and yet, actually, you kind of helped me a little bit. If nothing else, it cleared my mind about what to do, and it kept me entertained for an hour and a half or so.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Guy. I
All right.
appreciate your time. Thank you for your service, and keep up the good work down there. You're at Tucson Breakfast, right?
Yes,
All right. Next time I'm down in Tucson on a Wednesday, I'm going to definitely have to come to one of your meetings.
we will be honored to have you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you being a part of it. Have a
All right.
great rest of your weekend.
You too.
All right.
Okay.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Mhm.